Right now, beneficiaries of the Social Relief of Distress grant will now have to use supermarkets or ATMs to get their R350 grants. The South African Post Office recently announced it will no longer distribute the grants. This arrangement, however, does not apply to SASSA beneficiaries who receive old age, child and disability grants. For more on this, let's bring in Paseka Letsatsi. He's the spokesperson for the South African Social Security Agency. Mr. Letsatsi, thank you very much for your time here on All Angles. This is most likely to affect those living in rural areas. They are going to be the ones who bear the brunt.
Good morning, myself, and thanks for having us. It's quite true. It will definitely affect those who are in the deep rural areas, because what we are saying as an organization is that people must make maximum use of the infrastructure which is available. They do not necessarily have to get their grants or their 350 from the post office. In any case, majority of people who are getting the 350, especially in those remote areas, would go to the post office, which is situated in town, and we are simply saying, please use Safe, use checkers, use Pick and Pay, or you can use Boxer, which we have made a scan and find out that most of our areas have this particular infrastructure. So we are just appealing to our people that whilst we are trying to make sure that there is a plan in place to make sure that we bring services closer to them, we have this contingency where people can then be able to access what is due to them.
You say in the statement that this is because of challenges beyond SASSA's control. What are these challenges?
Look, Masuka, I think I might just be careful here that I do not necessarily speak on behalf of the South African Post Office. But there is an administrative or a financial situation with the South African Post Office is facing. And I think it can only be fair for them to come and elaborate on their issues. But what we can simply say as an organization is that when there's a crisis, we need to make sure that our clients do not find themselves moving from point A to point B without knowing exactly what is it that they must do to access their grants. So we had to come up with a plan to make sure that people exactly find ways of making sure that they get what is due to them. And I think because of the infrastructure that is available, we are saying, let us not confine ourselves to one pay point, or perhaps let us not only confine ourselves to the South African Post Office. Let's make sure that we make maximum use of whatever infrastructure available at our disposal. Besides, Maseko, we have made an assessment, especially where post office have got pay points, that Ugogo will go and withdraw money, and the same amount of money that is withdrawn, the Gogo will get into a taxi port and spend the same amount of money. So it is therefore important that people use that card which they have of SASSA sample to make sure that they make transaction or even withdraw money if they need to do so.
Just to confirm very quickly, this will only affect the Social Relief of Distress grant, right? The 350. All the other grants will not be affected by this.
All other grants are not affected. Also, people who are affected are those who are getting paid by SAP at pay points. But those pay points, Maseko, are in rural areas, majority of them. You would not have such in urban areas where people have access to as many infrastructure, as many merchants as possible. So it affects the 350, but in any case, in that instance, those who are getting the 350 will definitely go to town and get money, but it will also affect those designated pay points in those deep rural areas where there's lack of infrastructure. But we are saying for every problem, we see an opportunity. We are saying we must move away from a situation where people are confined, that you must go and get your money on this day. If you did not get your money on this day, you must wait for the following month. We are saying that card which we have, we can access money at any given moment. Even if you access as much as little from the card, the money will stay in your card, it won't go anywhere.
In terms of your statistics and the people who do get the 350 rand from these rural areas with no infrastructure development, what are the stats looking like? How many people will be affected?
I don't want to downplay the statistics, Maseko, but I can simply tell you that out of 12 million which we have of people who can transact with cards, I'm just talking about your general social grants, you will have about 250,000 from 12 million of people who are getting it from the pay points. And from the 350, you will definitely have less than 10% of those who are getting access to this to the post office. So we are affected, but it's not huge numbers. But from where we are saying, can we kindly use the crisis and turn it into an opportunity to say, now is the high time that we must not confine ourselves or lock ourselves to go into one infrastructure. Let's use whatever infrastructure which is close to us and make sure that, secondly, we don't necessarily withdraw everything, because one of the problems, which I have to mention quickly, is that Gogo will go and withdraw the money, and in some instances, from the pay point, in some instances, they get robbed on the way and so forth. So I say this is an opportunity for people to spend what they need to spend on the particular day, especially now that they have got this card which can operate at any time of the day or any time of the month and so forth.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Paseka Letsatsi, the spokesperson for SASSA there, telling us about the fact that if you are expecting a 350 Rand social relief of grant, you won't be able to get it at the post office, because they've announced that they actually will not be dispersing those grants anymore. You have to go to town for that. But of course, we need to get a response from the post office in terms of what it is that is challenging them in terms of actually giving those grants.